I attempted a playthrough of Pokemon Emerald, but with a twist. Every time I beat a trainer, I chuck out my current Pokemon team and replace them with the team that I just beat. So, for the first trainer battle in Emerald, I beat Brendan and his level 5 Trico. Now, with a little Pokemon magic, boom, my team is a level 5 Trico. Now I try to beat the second trainer of the game, take their team, and this goes on until I become the Pokemon champion. That is, if it's even possible to get there. But for now, we're just trying to beat the second trainer of the game and his level 5 Poochyena. Brendan's Trico knew Pound and Leer, so mine does too. I'm stealing his exact team. I can pound it out with Trico, easily taking out youngster Calvin's weak Poochyena. Now, the Poochyena is my team, but here lies the problem. This Poochyena was bad enough for me to beat initially, but now it needs to be good enough to beat the next trainer. In this case, that's the grunt in Petalburg Woods with a level 9 Poochyena. My level 5 doesn't stand a chance. I'm not allowed to change the moves or grind on wild Pokemon to gain levels. I have to use the exact same team, no exceptions. So what do? Is the run just over? Well, if you have eyes and can see how long this video is, you'll know that no, of course it's not over. Although that grunt is the next required fight in the game, it's not the only fight. On my way to Petalburg Woods, I skipped over 5 optional trainer battles because why would I ever want to fight them? Well, in this challenge, they're the key to making this possible. I need to find a trainer with a team bad enough to lose to a level 5 Poochyena, but good enough to beat a level 9 Poochyena. I need a bridge team. Consider Lady Cindy on Route 104 with her level 7 Zigzagoon. Although it's technically stronger than Poochyena, it's also being piloted by the dumbest AI ever. An AI that would choose to go for Tail Whip rather than just win. This allows me to take the victory and replace my level 5 Poochyena with a level 7 Zigzagoon. Although I'm still weaker, it's much easier to take out the level 9 Poochyena. This challenge is all about getting slightly better and better teams as I go. Of course, that level 9 Poochyena is now mine. By expertly navigating around optional trainers, I can bring Poochyena all the way to the next mandatory trainer. And that trainer just so happens to be Roxanne, and her 3 Pokemon level 12 and above that completely destroy Poochyena. What the fuck? Gym leaders, you know them, you hate them, they tend to be pretty tough. But more importantly, they tend to be way better than all the other trainers around that portion of the game. Roxanne has a level 15 Nosepass, but all her gym trainers have like level 8 Geodudes. The difficulty spike is intense, and that makes things very difficult for me. I have to use a trainer's team, but what trainer is gonna have Pokemon that can compete with levels this high? Well, the way to beat Roxanne here is probably the same way you'd win in a casual playthrough or a Nuzlocke. You know what I'm talking about. Let's say it at the same time. 3, 2, 1. Choosing Mudkip as a starter and clicking its water or ground moves to absolutely dunk on every single trainer all the way through the Elite Four. Oh, is that not what you said? Shit, sorry. You said type advantages? Well, we pretty much said the same thing. Yes, type advantages are absolutely crucial here. Poor Poochyena and its only damaging move Tackle are absolutely worthless. But if I were to find a grass or water Pokemon, well, things would be much easier. Lucky for me, the game allows me to head northeast of Rustboro even though I don't have the first badge. And there are some pretty good trainers up here. And one in particular has caught my eye, Youngster Johnson. This lad, who has the unfortunate first name that's both a last name and a euphemism, has 2 team members, a level 8 Shroomish and a level 8 Lotad. This team checks off the 2 most important criteria to be a potential bridge team. Not only does it have Pokemon with type advantages for my next fight, but it's also easy enough to beat with my current team. Poochyena knows Sand Attack, which lowers the opponent's accuracy. I can make it so Shroomish basically misses every attack, and then Howl to get my attack up. I can then take out Shroomish and finally Lotad. And since I beat this team, it's now mine. With no mandatory trainers in my path, I can walk back to the gym. And even though I'm still massively underleveled, Shroomish works wonders against Roxanne's Pokemon. Her Geodudes are faster than me? No worries, I'll just paralyze them. Absorb only has a base power of 20? No worries, it's 4 times effective. Geodude's attacks are strong though? No worries, Absorb heals me every time it hits. In fact, by the time we see that level 15 Nosepass, we're still at full health. Despite all of that, Nosepass is still stronger than Shroomish. Good thing we have a second Pokemon in the back that can do the exact same thing, knocking out Nosepass and giving us the first badge, thus allowing us to take Roxanne's team for ourselves. At this point, you might be wondering how I'm recreating these teams. Well, thanks to the wonderful Pokemon speedrunning community, I can find all the info I'd ever need. Pokemon's movesets, abilities, even their exact statistics, all being added to my team through PK Hex after every victory. I'm also allowed to use items if the Pokemon was holding one or the trainer could use them. Roxanne uses 2 potions, so I can use 2 potions as well, but only for the next fight. Additionally, I play on set mode just like the trainers do, but I am allowed to reorganize the team and send out who I want first. After Roxanne, the next required trainer is Hiker Devin, who blocks the path to retrieve Pico for Mr. Briny. With my completely OP Roxanne team, I have no problem taking out his 2 level 8 Geodudes. Of course, now I have to use 2 level 8 Geodudes instead of Roxanne's team, which is a bummer. But at least the next mandatory trainer is that Pico-stealing Grunt, who only has a level 11 Poochyena. Cue my Poochyena versus Geodude nightmares from before. But at least I'm on the other side this time, getting a dub and taking the Poochyena for myself. The routing for this next part of the game is very interesting. Now I can take the boat down to Dewford Town, the location of the second gym leader. But Brawly isn't the next mandatory trainer. In Emerald, you can make your way through the trainerless Granite Cave to return the letter to Steven. The game then lets you take the boat to a new location, Slateport City. The game blocks you from going much further than that, but this means the next true fight takes place in the Slateport Museum, where you have to fight 2 Team Aqua Grunts, one with a level 15 Carvana and one with 2 level 14 Pokemon. Sounds kinda tough for a level 11 Poochyena, right? Well, it's worse than that, because you have to fight both trainers back to back with no healing in between. Poochyena has literally 0 shot of winning these fights. But you know whose team might actually fare better against these dark types? I don't know, maybe Brawly's team of fighting Pokemon? Of course, my level 11 Poochyena also can't beat Brawly, so I have to find a chain of trainer battles to take me from Poochyena to a Brawly victory. This gym leader team, as discussed previously, is much greater in level and scale than the ones around it, so I need to find a trainer that has a Pokemon with good levels or better typing. Or how about both? Tuberiki is a beach child with a level 13 Zigzagoon, one who knows Surf for some reason. Poochyena can win against this radical raccoon, but it's not our Brawly answer. I mean, obviously, Zigzagoon would get Karate Chop to oblivion. No, Tuberiki's Zigzagoon provides us with a bridge Pokemon to get the team we actually want. The team of Sailor Edmund. I say team, but it's really just a level 13 Wingull. However, it's kind of all we need. Zigzagoon beats Wingull, we take Wingull ourselves, and then Wingull becomes the key to defeating Brawly. Let me pause because I know what you're thinking. Is one level 13 Wingull really the best option for defeating a team that goes up to level 19? And the answer is unfortunately yes. Things are very dire out here. There is no Pokemon even close to this level with a super effective move and a resist to fighting attacks. Brawly's first Pokemon is Machop, but Wingull is actually faster, so I begin with a Supersonic. This confuses Machop, who hits itself in confusion. Wing Attack does very good damage, especially for being 3 levels lower. Machop hits itself in confusion again, and we kill with Wing Attack. Second is Metatite, who bafflingly only wants to go for Focus Punch. With my 100% accurate Wing Attack, this means I can never be hit. Even more crucially, Wing Attack doesn't 2-hit KO, but this is amazing, because Brawly uses both of his super potions to heal up Meditite, a Pokemon who, again, cannot hit me. This means I can kill it without losing any health, and Brawly can't use potions on his actually tough Pokemon, Makahita. Once again, I go for the Supersonic strat and get a self-hit plus Wing Attack. However, Makahita lands a very powerful Vital Throw, and then the Citrus Berry brings it back to full health. I have to go for Supersonic again, but this time it only hits itself, with a few Wing Attacks thrown in there too. This Wingull can solo Brawly, getting us the second badge. But Ryan, I'm sure you're saying out loud to your phone or computer, how did you get so incredibly lucky? There were so many confusion self-hits in that fight. There's no way that just happened on your first attempt. And to that I would say, yes, I did get lucky, but that was not my first Brawly attempt. Throughout this run, I have lost fights and tried again until I got better results. Sometimes I run into optional trainers and reset so I don't have to fight them. The point is, if I'm able to do it at all, it's possible, even if it's extremely unlikely. Armed with Brawly's great team, I make the Museum Grunts look like absolute bozos, beating the 2-fight Gauntlet with just Machop. Even though this was 2 fights, I take the team from the last Grunt I fought, a Zubat and a Carvanha. Now I can travel north of Slateport, where I find these mandatory trainers itching for a double battle. But by talking to Pokefan Isabelle first, I can force just a single battle. She has a Plusle and a Minun, both with Oran Berries. Zubat is kinda worthless here, but Carvanha and its amazing attack stat plus stab bonus have no problem taking out the electric mice. With a Plusle and Minun, I can fight the other single battle, Pokefan Caleb, who has a Plusle and Minun, both with Oran Berries. Yeah, this fight was not a pleasure to partake in. But even though we have the same exact teams, I'm a human and it's just a stupid computer. So how could I possibly lose here? How could I possibly lose here? I take Pokefan Caleb's Plusle and Minun and lead them to the next required fight in the run, the Slateport rival, or as I like to call him, if you're familiar with speedrunning this game, you know how absolutely awful the Slateport rival is. He has high-level Pokemon, including a level 20 starter, and his team diversity makes it so soloing the fight is extremely difficult. It should be no surprise to you that 2 level 14 Pika clones get absolutely pancaked by this team. So of course, I need to find a bridge team that can beat them. At first, I try Lass Robin, a trainer in the Route 110 Trick House. She has a Skitty, a Shroomish, and a Marill, all of which can be beaten by the Pika twins, and could be diverse enough to beat the rival. Nope, they're too low-leveled. Maybe youngster Eddie and his level 14 and 16 Zigzagoons with Stab Headbutt can be enough. Nope, they get clowned on too. Every trainer I tried wasn't even in the same league as Brendan. This led me to conclude that there was only one trainer whose defeat and theft of their team could result in a win, and that trainer would be Brawly. You know, the trainer who I already beat, used their team, and can't fight again? Yeah, that Brawly. So, what do? Well, I restart. And I reroute. I do everything exactly the same through the Grunt in Rust Turf Tunnel. The Grunt's Poochyena defeats Tuberiki and his Surfing Zigzagoon, just like before. But this time, I use the strength of that Pokemon to take on the Museum Grunt Mini Gauntlet, since again, I don't need the second badge to get here. It doesn't really work at first, but with a few poor AI choices, I can use Stab Headbutt to do good damage, enough to sneak out a win against both trainers, making this theoretically possible. I could use this team to take on the strength of Brawly, but remember, there's 2 mandatory fights before the rival battle. So I use the Carvanha and Zubat to defeat Pokefan Isabelle, and then her team to defeat Caleb like before, essentially clearing out a path to the rival. With those electric mice, I can neutralize Sailor Edmund's Wingull, the same Wingull I take to defeat Brawly again. With Brawly defeated, I take his team all the way to the next mandatory fight, and thanks to my planning, the next mandatory fight is the Slateport Devil. I send out Meditite to take on Slugma. It's definitely stronger than me, but weirdly, Meditite really isn't here to take on Slugma. By clicking the move Focus Punch, the AI knows I might use that move again, and if the AI has a Pokemon strong defensively against that move type, it always has a chance of switching out. And that happens here as Brendan switches to Wingull. My focus isn't broken, so it hits. And thanks to Bulk Up, it kills Wingull even though it's not very effective. Machop can take out Slugma with Seismic Tosses, leaving Makahita to deal with the Ace Grovyle. With only a 1-level disadvantage and a very helpful Citrus Berry, Makahita can arm thrust its way to victory. And finally, we've defeated the Slateport rival, and now we get his team. Continuing through Route 110, we need to fight both trainers here. But just like before, we can do it in single battle fashion. First, I use the rival team to take on Psychic Edward and his Abra that only knows Hidden Power. Although I wish I could use the rival team to defeat someone a little more threatening, it does allow me to figure out what type of hidden power this Abra has. It's neutral against Grovyle, neutral against Slugma, and not very effective against Wingull. Based on these clues, can you figure out what hidden power type Abra has? I'll give you a few seconds. While you're puzzle solving, make sure you're subscribed to the channel for more Pokemon content like this. And if you think this concept is cool and want to see me try it in a different game, like the video for Daddy Algorithm, and leave a comment for which game you'd like to see next. Alright folks, time's up. This Abra has Hidden Power Fighting. As a special attacker, that's pretty abysmal for Abra, but at least Triathlete Alyssa has a Magnemite. Abra can eventually punch its way to victory, and I replace it with the level 15 Magnemite. Finally, I make it to Mauville City, where I'm prevented from advancing by a Rock Smash Rock. To get into the gym, I have to fight Wally, whose sad quote-unquote team stands no chance against Magnemite. Even sadder though is that now I am Wally. You guys want to hear my Wally impression? Okay, here it goes. Aw man, I lost again. Come on, Gardevoir, let's get out of here. Cause you gonna make me act up. There's one mandatory trainer in Wattson's gym. Youngster Ben, with a level 17 Zigzagoon and level 17 Gulpin. Even with fairly good matchups, Wally's trash bag Ralts can't win. So we need to find a bridge team. There are 2 trainers east of Mauville who aren't mandatory right now, but will be before I use Surf. So I go ahead and defeat one of them now, Aroma Lady Rose. She has 2 Roselias and a Shroomish, but they don't have the right matchups to defeat youngster Ben's Gulpin. Rose's team is strong enough to beat the other mandatory trainer though, with Leech Seed and Paralysis taking out youngster DeAndre's Zigzagoon, Aeron, and Electrike. This new team does have the juice to take out the gym trainer. And now we're armed with Zigzagoon and Gulpin, 2 Pokemon that can do absolutely nothing to Wattson, the next mandatory trainer. This time, to look for a bridge team, I head west of Mauville, taking out Pokemon breeder Lydia and her 6 Pokemon. I can use this wide variety of Pokemon against Hiker Mike, and by that I mean clicking Absorb with a level 11 Shroomish. Hiker Mike is not a required trainer, but it does make it much easier to come back and get the mandatory HM for strength. Hiker Mike has 3 level 16 Pokemon, 2 Geodudes and a Machop. With 2 ground types, I targeted this team as a potential spoiler for Wattson, since most of my team will have an electric immunity. These Geodudes also know Magnitude, a ground move that can be really strong. For some reason, Wattson's Voltorb goes for Rollout first, which does nothing but locks it into using that weak move. So I take the opportunity to go for a few defense curls before taking it out. A Magnitude 7 leaves Electrike with a Sliver, wasting a Super Potion into a Magnitude 9. Sonic Boom from Magneton kills Geodude, but this is a great time to get some use out of Machop. Just kidding, I guess. We still have another Geodude though, and it just needs a Magnitude 6 to take out Magneton. Geodude rolls a Mag 7 crit to take out Manectric, and I defeat Wattson on the very first try, taking his team and the lovely items he can use. With the 3rd badge, I can now use Rock Smash outside of battle, but none of Wattson's Pokemon know Rock Smash. In fact, trainers very rarely have Pokemon that know HMs. So, to make this challenge actually possible, I'm allowing myself to use HMs to progress the story forward, but obviously must remove HM moves before fights. The next stretch of the game is long, but there's barely any mandatory fights. I can go all the way up Route 111 and 112, through the Fiery Path and Route 113, past Fall Arbor until just outside Meteor Falls when I hit my first required trainer. Hiker Lucas has a level 18 Geodude and a level 18 Numel, and Wattson's Pokemon handle them with no problem. I run into Team Aqua in Meteor Falls, but nobody fights me here because they know what's coming up next will be challenging enough. They know that next I need to take on Team Magma in Mount Chimney. There are 4 fights here. The first one is a grunt with 1 Numel, who Geodude can defeat, and the second fight is a grunt with 1 Zubat, who the first grunt's Numel can defeat. But the third fight is admin Tabitha, and this is her team. Do you really think that one level 20 Zubat is gonna win this fight? Even though Tabitha's team is very strong, I have a lot of optional trainers I can use as bridge teams. I have one in mind, but I know my single Zubat wouldn't win. So I need a bridge team for my bridge team. I run all the way back to Meteor Falls and onto Route 115 to find Battle Girl Cindy. Her fighting Pokemon are weak to Zubat, although admittedly this fight was not easy. But Zuby pulled out a win, and we can take this team to fight the team I actually need. Senior and Junior, Tyra and Ivy. Previously, I fought every double battle as single battles instead, but some double battles in this game can only be fought in double battle format. These are the trainers who won't fight you if you only have 1 Pokemon, hence me needing another bridge team. Zubat alone couldn't even attempt this fight. Since these trainers have to be fought together, I'm counting them as 1 team. So when Meditite and Makihita win, I get the entire team. A level 18 Rosalia, but more importantly, a level 20 Graveler. Graveler doesn't know a ground move, but Rock Throw still does enough damage to take out both of Tabitha's Numels. When she sends out Poochyena, I switch to Rosalia, who can paralyze and knock it out with Mega Drain. Before getting O-Code, Rosalia can paralyze Zubat, allowing Graveler to move first and take out Zubat with a Rock Throw. Now armed with Tabitha's strong team, I can take on the Magma leader, Maxie. Despite having similarly leveled Pokemon, this fight is tough. He has a Mightyena and a Camerupt where I have a Poochyena and a Numel. Between Mightyena's Bite Flinches and Camerupt's strong magnitudes, my team loses this fight a lot. So much so that I started wondering if there was another team that was better suited for this fight. However, of any trainer available for me to take on, literally none of them have a Pokemon leveled into the 20s. And I have 3 on Tabitha's team. If I'm gonna beat Maxie, it's gotta be with this team. I start by sending out Poochyena, whose whole job is to just Sand Attack Mightyena. This often devolves into a Sand Attack war, and sometimes I lose that war, but sometimes I win, getting Mightyena to -6 accuracy. I sacrifice Poochyena to bring in Zubat, going for a Supersonic. Between missing attacks, self-hits, and wing attacks, I can bring Mightyena's health down, forcing Maxie to use one of his 2 super potions. I can bring Mightyena's health down again, and Zubat can take out the wolf. Next out is Zubat, and by going for Supersonic and getting self-hits, Zubat can also take out Zubat. Finally, we see Camerupt, Maxie's ace. Zubat confuses Camerupt before fainting, but I still have 3 healthy Pokemon in the back. I can get Camerupt's health low enough to proc a super potion use, and then I hit high enough magnitudes to 2-hit KO Camerupt. Tabitha's team can beat Maxie, but to get this result, I absolutely had to use save states to lock in beneficial turns like Confusion Self-Hits and reset back on bad turns. Even with save states, this was a hard fight, but moves like Sand Attack and Supersonic make things possible. For super tough fights like this, finding exactly how it's possible to win feels like solving a puzzle. With Maxie's team, super potions, and my save state strategy in tow, it's time to take on my strongest opponent yet. There are no required trainers in Jagged Pass or the Lavaridge gym, so I can carry Maxie's team all the way to the 4th gym leader, Flannery. And that's great, because there's nowhere else I can get 3 Pokemon at level 24 and above. However, even with this great team, Flannery is an absolute nightmare. Most of her team isn't that bad. Numel and Slugma can be taken out with moderate magnitudes, and Camerupt is a bit tricky but generally goes down to a 2-hit KO. The problem is Flannery's ace Torkoal. Let's talk about what makes Torkoal so scary. Torkoal knows the move Overheat, a 140 base power fire attack, but Torkoal is a fire type that can also set up the sun, essentially making it a 315 base power at its peak. Being such a high level already, this instantly kills everyone on my team. The drawback of Overheat is that it lowers your special attack by 2 stages, making the next Overheat do less damage. So in theory, I could sacrifice 2 of my Pokemon, getting Torkoal down to -4 special attack, and tank Overheats with my best Pokemon. Great idea, right? Nope. Flannery's Torkoal is holding a White Herb, reverting any stat changes and therefore not losing special attack after the first Overheat. Okay, well, maybe I can try to use up the White Herb by lowering another stat first. Hey, my Mightyena has Intimidate. Let's use up the White Herb by lowering attack. Nope. Torkoal has the White Smoke ability, so none of its stats can be lowered by opponents. Well, with Mightyena in, I'll just lower its accuracy so it misses Overheats. Nope. None of its stats can be lowered by opponents. I think you get it now. Torkoal is truly a hellish nightmare, and with an underleveled team, this is gonna be insanely difficult. Even if I can get absolutely everything to go exactly as I want, it still might be impossible. With the right setup, I can get through the first 3 Pokemon with no damage taken. However, when Torkoal comes out, the sun is already up. On this turn, I need the 10% chance that Overheat will miss. By sacrificing Camerupt, I can confuse Torkoal, and with a combination of self-hits, bite flinches, and getting a crit just outside of heal range, I can defeat Torkoal and get the 4th badge. This fight was absolutely atrocious, but it is possible, although it took me an entire day to figure out how. We can go right to Norman's gym now, and armed with Flannery's team, we should be able to crush Norman with Overheat. However, we can't do that, because for the 5th gym, you're required to fight 3 gym trainers before taking on Norman. I'll have to replace Flannery's team with the gym trainer teams. I knew this and tried to enter Norman's gym before getting the 4th badge to clear the path, but Norman doesn't even set up his gym trainer gauntlet until after you get the 4th badge. So there's absolutely no way to carry Flannery's team to Norman. You just have to fight the gym trainers first. Each of these gym trainers have 1 Pokemon. I absolutely waste Flannery's team to defeat 1 Swellow from Cool Trainer Randall, and then use that Swellow to defeat Cool Trainer Parker's Spinda. Spinda can defeat Cool Trainer Jody's Zangoose, and now I can take on Norman. My path was very deliberate here. Of all the Pokemon that could beat Norman, I had my eye on that little Zangoose. But what's so special about this Pokemon? Can Norman really be defeated with just 1 Zangoose? Well, you'll have to see in the next video.